Hey guys, what's up? It's Alex here, and today we're here with some more F1 2013 classic car gameplay. We're going to be in the 1988 Lotus, and we're going to be trying our best to get up the field and get some good points. However, that isn't going to be too easy because a lot of people have been asking me to do a pit stop in a classic car. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing on the end of the first lap, and we're going to see if we can not come last. That is going to be the aim. But you can see here, running up down to turn 1 in Montreal, you can see the filter on your screen. It looks a little bit different to the standard Montreal you might see if you just use the standard 2013 cars. It's got a little filter on it which you can turn off, by the way, which makes everything look a little bit different. It's got that sort of sepia tone to it, which I think is really kind of cool. But of course you can turn that off, and of course you can do that if you want to. And you can see in front of me just there, Damon Hill kicking up the sparks in his Williams and throwing them all in my face. Now running through here, not quite hitting the back of Damon Hill. I was nearly going to, getting a bit loose on the apex, or not the apex, coming off the corner is what I'm trying to say. Getting a little bit loose and losing a bit of momentum and losing time to Hill in front, but just going to make sure I hit the apexes here, just about do that right. But once again, a little bit too much power on the exit of the corner, throws me sideways and lose even more time. I think there's about, well, there's 0.8 seconds between me and Hill, but I run deep into the hairpin, try and get a good run out the corner, and that's exactly what I do. Get into the slipstream of Hill, but I do touch the grass on the left hand side, meaning I do not have as good momentum up the straight. You can see on the right hand side we've got the turbo pressure gauge as we're running at 190 miles an hour into the chicane at the end of the lap. But of course I'm diving into the pit lane, just narrowly missing my teammate. Luckily I didn't hit him, but we're going into the pit lane, and this is how the classic pit stops look. Pretty similar to the modern day ones, but it's nice to see that they dressed the characters up in all the clothing they'll be wearing at the time. Obviously just a t-shirt and jeans back then. Obviously back then in the 80s it was really less casual, until obviously we have accidents, is when in Formula 1 we get to learn from these things. I guess some sort of accident in the 80s meant that they all started wearing fireproof overalls. And I don't know how I started talking about that, but we've got a race to try and not lose. Obviously the aim now is just to not come last. We've got Alan Jones in a Williams in front of us, getting sideways around every single corner we go through. It's kind of hard to keep this car on the track, but it's really fun. Once you get used to these classic cars, it's a lot of fun. You can see there, putting on the cold tyres, I was expecting to have a lot of grip off the bat, but then realising, well, these are cold tyres, and really I've got to get them warm before I go into these corners full pelt. So that lost me a bit more time. Alan Jones escaping up the road once again. Alan Jones in one of the slower cars. He was in, I think it's a 1980s Williams. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But obviously the 1980s cars and the sort of earlier cars, the older cars I should say, are the cars that are slower in this game. And once again, just not having the grip on the cold tyres. I probably misjudged the line as well, to be perfectly honest. But now we're 5 seconds behind Alan Jones. You can see the green dots on the map, and there for DRS activation and detection, but obviously in classic cars they do not have DRS. Now through the chicane, this is a lot of fun in classic cars. You've got to sling it through perfectly. I didn't really do it perfectly there, took a little bit too much curb on the inside, but coming across the line to do a 1 minute 24, which I don't think is that much slower than modern day cars do, which is kind of surprising to me. I think it's, I don't know, I could be completely wrong here. I think it's like 10-12 seconds slower than they do in modern day cars, but I don't know, I could be completely wrong on that. But Alan Jones is slowly coming towards us, we're slowly catching him. Obviously we should be in the faster car. Gap's down to 2.7 seconds there, so in I think a couple of sectors there we've gained nearly 2.5 seconds. But once again getting sideways. AI don't get as sideways as me because I'm just pushing the limits every single second and usually going over them and getting sideways and losing time. Once again going through this little chicane here, getting that one a little bit wrong, missing the apex on the second one. But, you know, we're just trying to overall catch Jones here without making too many mistakes. Obviously, I'd like to try and catch some cars in front, but obviously these 80s cars aren't that much slower than the 88 car I'm driving here. And I think I've said in previous videos, I have got a little bit of lag, so if you get some frame rate issues in my videos, for the meantime, I'm sorry about that. That's the only thing I can just say. I'm really sorry about that. My PC just isn't up to standard nowadays, and definitely need to think about either upgrading it or getting a new one in general. But when we get onto the Xbox there'll be less lag, but the quality might not be as good, so I don't know, we'll see what happens. But we're catching up to Alan Jones as I've been rambling on here. Down to a 1.5 seconds here, running a bit wide through turn 1, however, which have lost me a little bit of time. I think in front of Jones you'll have his teammate in another 1980s car, but I've got that much better. I've done that sequence of corners, I should say, a little bit better than before. Alan Jones here, we're much later on the brakes, looking for a move down the inside, but we didn't lunge it. We could have lunged it down the inside there, but we just didn't do it because we didn't want to take us both out and get a penalty of some sort. You can actually see in the mirrors of this car here, it's got really small mirrors, but you can still see out the back of them. So even if you use this view I'm using here, you can still see out the back of the car, which is really good, and especially if you don't want to look behind you. I end up doing it looking behind me a lot, but I think now that mirrors are fixed, I might end up using these mirrors quite a lot more. Trying to go on the outside of Jones is never going to work there, but getting a better run off the corner, running side by side, just about got a little bit more grunt than his car, so in a straight line it was pretty easy here. They're going down to the final chicane. Got to really make sure now that I don't bin it in the wall of champions. I'm not a champion, so I can't do that. But I do take a lot of curb on the inside. I actually do hit the wall of champions there. I completely forgot I did that. But running across the line here, I think, yeah, doing a lap time 0.04 of a second faster than before. We've got Alain Prost in front of us here. Don't think we're going to quite catch him. He's 4.6 seconds up the road, but if we had an immense lap, we probably could do it. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the pit stop animation there. You know, that was my first time seeing the classic car one, and I really thought that was quite, kind of cool, and it's really nice to see that they dressed them appropriately as well, not using like modern day suits and everything. They used just a t-shirt and jeans as they would have back in the day. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this gameplay as well. Let me know if you want to see any other gameplay specifically. And you can see here I start playing around with the camera, and this is where it just all goes down the toilet, going across the inside of the corner there and then spinning it into a wall. Couldn't have took that sequence of corners much worse, but there we go, going to cockpit for a little bit here. You can see the mirrors there are really, really tiny. I think we're gaining a little bit of time on Prost here, but going through the hairpin really wide, hitting the wall. And then I think at this point in the race I'm like, why did I ever start playing around with these cameras? Because I've really binned my race here. I could have possibly catched Prost, but I highly doubt it. But we're running up to the final chicane here. Make sure we don't fly like lap 4, but I'm pretty sure we get this one right. But going through it now, clipping the first apex. Oh, a bit wide on that second one, but the run up to the line is here, going across the line. I think a 1:24 lap time. Yeah, just over 1:24. But anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. 9th position with Nakajima. But thanks for watching. It's been Alex, and I'm out of here. Goodbye.